Hey, Unification. So, this is a TVT against Cajun Cow, who is a Silver League dude, as are you. And it looks like we're going for the Marine Fast Expand with an early bunker, getting up to 3 racks and then double gas, instead of 4 racks and then double gas. Looks like you're going to keep up Marine production. Most possible Marines you can get off of 3 racks with no add-ons is still pretty damn low. I suspect because of that you're going to add a reactor core right now. Come on, add a reactor core. Nope. So my concern here is that you have $500 at 6 minutes and that's fine, but you need 1,000 at 7 and 1,500 at 8. And I don't think you can get that with the build you're using. But you know, if you like this build, do it, man. Do it. So here we go, adding reactor cores. Nice, nice. So you're going to be short at 7, but you might be able to catch up by 8. We'll see, we'll see. And the big vulnerability is that a one-basing Terran, and you don't know that he's expanded, I don't think. Yeah, you think he's one-basing. One-basing Terran's usually going to show up at 8 minutes with a tank push or with something. So you really kind of want to be strong at 8 minutes, and at 8 minutes you're stronger than he was, but you don't have 1,500. And then at 9 minutes you don't have 2,000, and at 10 minutes you don't have 2,750. Actually, you do. So by 10 minutes you're basically caught up, and that's cool. But being weak until 10 minutes, until 9 minutes or so, that's just a recipe to be killed by the most common counter to a fast expand, which is the 1-1-1 tank push. So looks like your build gave you 50 workers at 10 minutes, which is crazy good. Very, very proud of you. Good work. And you got a little bit oversaturated at your main, and a little bit perfect saturation at your natural. I like to see. I mean, this is as good as one can be expected to do. So that's really good macro here so far. You're making a bunch of medevacs and pushing across the field as they pop out. That's good timing to be pushing across the field. You got an engineering bay, but no upgrades. You've got stim completed, but no combat shields on the way. I feel like you've been gas light for a long time, and because you have more SCVs than you can possibly use to mine minerals, it seems like now would be, or 8 minutes or so would be a good time to take at least a third gas, if not a third and fourth gas. Also, you should be planning on getting your third command center at some point, but I usually, in TVT, it's kind of dangerous. I like to fight my first fight before I choose whether or not to take a third. Because you don't want to be making a third CC right now, then fight a big battle in the middle and lose it, and then be like, whoa, okay, well, I'm sorry that I have all this CC building in my base. So you are getting your third and fourth gas now. I think that's about 2 minutes late. One big concern I have is that while you did make a 3 racks production infrastructure, which is just barely enough to allow you to catch up by 10 minutes, you're going to fall further and further behind the longer you keep just these 3 racks with basically no other production. I mean, your money is just stacking up through the roof. Now you've got 3 medevacs, but only one of them is going over there, right? Oh, you've got 2 medevacs. I like the aggression. I like the income. Look how big your income is. That's really good. I suspect you're going to cut workers now, yes. I do remember that reification, you are the man who likes to get exactly 56 workers and then just stay there. So you got 52 this time, which is fine. This is undersaturated, this is oversaturated. If you're going to get exactly 52 workers, make sure to split them evenly between your bases or else you look kind of silly. But I like this style. I like, you're like, I'm going to cap out on 2 base saturation as quick as possible and then just do this huge 2 base all in. And that's what you're doing. Anytime you stop at 52 workers and then you add a bunch of production facilities and you really just try to get as much as you can off of 2 bases, that's kind of a 2 base all in. And those are really strong. And those are much, much more versatile and much safer and much better than 1 base all ins. And much more readily accepted by the community at large. And even though you are adding a command center, if you never add workers, then I mean, if you sit at 52 workers all game, that's kind of like a 2 base all in because you're gonna mine out your main as you start saturating your third. So you're always gonna have about 2 bases worth of income. Adding these 3 raxes, I love that, but I wish it had happened way earlier because look how high your money is getting. I mean, it was predictable. This is 250, 250, 250. And this is like probably 400 and this is 250. So your total possible capacity, and you're not making tanks, so it's even, you might be, I mean, I'm tempted not to even count the factory, and you're not consistently making medevacs, so you just don't have the gas for that. So it's tempting to say that your entire production infrastructure capacity is only 750, and you've had a 2,000 $200 income for quite a while. You did forget to drop mules for a little while now, so it's dropped down. But in general, your income has been hovering around 2,200 for quite a while. So you're doing a quadruple doom drop. I don't know about this because you haven't fought any fights. It's, for me, I like to walk my army all the way up to here and see if he has a third I can knock down, see what he has at his front. Because if you had taken your whole army as a big group and just walked to his front right now, your whole army is $4,300 with completed stim and siege mode. No, not siege mode. Just completed stim. So you just have a much bigger army than him. And if you just walk to the front and said, oh, he has 2 tanks. 2 is less than 5, and I know that anytime someone has less than 5 tanks, I'm allowed to attack into them. And then you just A-move, you would have won this game right here. Just bam, you win the whole game. So instead, you're kind of splitting your guys off into this quadruple medevac drop mixed with a bunch of guys in the middle that are unsupported. You're going to lose a lot of medevacs in the drop. The drop's going to do some damage, but he's got his whole army here, and of course he does. You didn't ever make him want to leave that place. Also, dropping on top of turrets is you're always going to lose a bunch of Marines and medevacs to that. I know you guys are kind of trapped in this little area where only about a third of them are firing at any given time. And you had so much bigger of an army than him that you should have just won the game, and instead you did this kind of, I don't like the drop. I do like drops in general, like as a theme. It's nice to do a quadruple medevac drop. Those are nice things to do. But if you're going to open with a quadruple medevac drop, you want it to be 100% of your army. You want to walk your army to right here and then drop right here and then go over and pick up the rest and drop up here. Or, just support from the low ground with the high ground. You never want your army to be split in half with your first fight because, I mean, especially if you're doing this kind of get 52 workers and cut, because your whole build is centered around getting this huge army. And it's if you do it perfectly, it's impossible for your opponent to have a bigger army at that point. That's the glory of timing pushes. You get a build that's oriented around being extremely powerful at one given moment, and then without even scouting your opponent, without checking what he has or what he did, you know that no one can be stronger than you at that one moment. And then it relieves the tension of having to worry about what he has where and whether it's safe to drop or whether it's safe to do this kind of attack, whether this is safe. You just know that your army is so big right now that nothing that you do can screw it up. I mean, that nothing that he does can defend against it kind of thing. You just walk out and win. So now you've transitioned into mass Viking and lots of these supply drops. I don't like those at all. And you got a second engineering bay, you're not really getting upgrades. Combat shields is pretty late, but you are eventually going to get it. You've got kind of a small infrastructure. You've got your third mining. You're just massively ahead on this guy, in macro positioning, but your first battle went really poorly. And now the decision to get a bunch of Vikings, it's what's really confusing me right now, because why are you not getting medevacs? Look how many Marines you have. You need to have enough medevacs to heal all those Marines, or else you can't stim. So I'm not saying Vikings are a bad unit or anything, but you can make Vikings or medevacs in this scenario, and I would definitely have chosen to make medevacs. So here he goes. His army is massively smaller than yours. You easily mop him up, and he just says GG and leaves. So this was kind of a macro win. I loved your macro, and this is a pretty consistent theme of the games that I've watched of yours. I love your macro for the first 10 minutes, for the first 11 minutes. You make all these workers, you make them really well. You get, you get a reasonably large 10-minute army. You have the right composition of units coming out, and you follow it up pretty well. But then there's this kind of slow starvation aspect to it because you're 2-base all-inning, but then you're not actually attacking with the 2-base all-in. And I've seen this a lot of times in your games against Zerg and against not against Protoss, but against Zerg and Terran, is that you get this big army that you could win with if you just took it and went and attacked him, and then you don't go and attack him. You do something cute and just kind of wait and whatever. So luckily he walked out into midfield and you got to crush him. But if he had just stayed home and turtle on these 3 bases and you've been on your 3 bases, eventually it would have equalized. You both would have hit 200 unit space, and then your advantage would have been wasted. I mean, you might have still won at that point, but it would have been an even fight. You don't want to have an even fight when you have double his supply. Like, you want to take advantage of that massive macro lead by having a fight early enough. So anyway, good macro, not aggressive enough. Never open with a drop. Always do an attack and then a drop. You know, like, attack first, see how it goes, retreat, and then decide whether you want to attack again or do a drop at the same time as you attack, you know? But don't just open with a drop where half your army is sitting in the middle of the field unused. And try not to drop in the back. It's always better to drop in the front, like over here, where you can actually get away. You can just walk down onto the low ground where the rest of your army is waiting to catch you in their loving arms. Whereas if you drop the back, the only way to escape is over space, and then if he has a Viking shooting at you, you're guaranteed to lose a couple medevacs as you retreat. So I don't like dropping the back, I like dropping the front. Or, I mean, even if you go down to his third, put your whole army here, and then drop across this gap, you're probably going to run into his army here, so that'd even be sillier. But at least your army, your additional army would be nearby. I don't know, that whole statement was just silly. So yeah, that is that.